From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, episode 14, the final episode. I know we said the season finale before, right, Rafa? But this is the final episode of season 4, and it's going to be a great one. We are joined. It's the 6A edition. We are joined by both the boys and girls state champions, and we're going to start off with our girls state champions here. 6A, we're joined by the Prosper Eagles and Coach Dickinson. Olivia Hess, our state MVP, and as well as our Super 2026, as we call her, all right, Rhiannon Mahon. Did I get that right, Rhi? Did I get that right? All right, awesome. I'll make sure I get that right. So welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Great. And, of course, I cannot forget, last but certainly not least, do not call him the most interesting man alive, all right? Do not call him, amongst many other things, we just simply refer to him as Hollywood now. He is my lovely co-host, as I like to call him. Rafa, Coach, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. How are you doing today? How is everyone today?
Good.
I can feel the nervousness here.
Hey, they were just great like 2 minutes ago, and then all of a sudden they got nervous. No, we're fine, guys. No, you guys are doing great. Thank you for being here, and really excited to have you guys here. And for many reasons, we're going to jump right in and talk about everything. But before we begin, Coach, let's send it over to you. How are things?
Yeah, it's finally had a little bit of time to digest the end of the year, and finally starting to set in a little bit kind of what we did. So still very busy, but busy with all the exciting, fun stuff that comes along with it. So it's been good so far.
Great, awesome. And Olivia, Rhi, how are things?
They're good. Yeah, they're good. We're still working hard. We had one week off, but we're back to working hard in practice.
Already, wow. No rest for the weary. And Rhi?
No, yeah, things are good. We're back in the weight room, back training. It's good to be, hanging out with the teammates for the state champ title.
I'm going to play this clip tomorrow for my girls team so they can see, hey, if the 6A state champions are right back at it, right, so can we. So awesome. Thank you again. Thank you guys for being here. So, Coach, we'll dive right in. First state title, program history. How does that feel? Have you even had a chance to really kind of digest that? I mean, where are you with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes with that, especially in Prosper. They definitely don't let you forget about it. I can put it that way, which that's a good thing. There's obviously a lot of team titles we've had at the school before that, but this one, with the first one since 2017, it's been a little bit of a drought, as far as how our standards are. So obviously a big, huge thing for the program to get the first state title in soccer history, so that's been huge for us. We've kind of been having some teams kind of knock at the door and had some really, really close calls. And, it's hard to get down there, with how Region 1 is. So just to get that opportunity to go down there the first time and take care of business the first time has been really, really awesome to be a part of.
Now, if I understand it correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, is this your first year? Was this your first season there?
First year as head coach.
As head coach.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by as head coach.
So 5 years total.
Yeah. Awesome. So what was that transition like?
It was pretty easy, to be honest with you. I think the girls really made that transition not that hard. They bought in right away, got announced right before the end of the school year last year. And we kind of, had a chance to meet as a group and talk about things and how things were going to change and what things were going to stay the same. And so, they kind of were really excited, and that got me pumped up, and we got going right away with it. And so just kind of doing a lot of the things we did before with some tweaks here and there. And, this having the kids buy into that, it's been really, really great.
Awesome. And from the players' perspective, Olivia, Rhi, seeing Coach Dickinson kind of shift over into the head coaching role this past year, different perspectives, obviously. Olivia is a senior, Rhi is a sophomore. What was that like amongst the team?
I mean, him as an assistant coach last year, I mean, it was really fun. It was like a fluid transition. But yeah, it's been really fun having him as head coach. He's obviously done a really good job this year.
And Olivia?
It's really nice because we've known him since he was our assistant coach, and it's really good to have a familiar face in the program. And he's really stepped up, and we just love him so much. And we're very grateful for everything that he's done for us.
Great stuff. Great stuff. And hey, side note, coach, I was going to say you got to yell at your athletic director to make sure he gets you the right shirt. I see there's certain stars missing on that badge there, so just a little dig there at the AD. Just kidding. But
yeah, I got to get some updated coaching gear now.
There you go. Yeah, awesome. So, coach, going into this your first year at the helm as the head coach, right? But yet you know this group really well. Going into the state playoffs, going into the state tournament, and now you find yourself in the main seat, right? The big seat. What was that like from maybe you didn't share it with the team, but what was that like? What was going on internally with you going into the playoffs and then, of course, the state tournament?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I knew, all the kids that were going to be returning and most of the kids that were going to be coming in. So I knew obviously we were going to be a really talented group, like starting the year off. But, like the kids know too, it's so difficult in the area that we're in. And so we knew we were always going to have a competitive team, but there was moments along the year where just internally realizing, okay, there's some potential here in the things that we're doing and the things that we're able to overcome. And even when we got into playoffs, there were some specific moments where, in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, checking off some boxes in terms of, does this team have the potential to do something special?
Right. And from that perspective, coach, you had been there long enough that, one of the things that I mentioned in one of our previous episodes where I was really happy for you guys. And I mentioned this to Rafa was that we had seen you all go through some of those couple of tough years, right? Those unexpected first round exits, then making much deeper run last year, and then making the ultimate run this year, obviously. So I was very happy for you guys, and you got to kind of witness all of that, right? That progression. So to see it to go from a few years back to now, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned all those previous teams, and we've had some really talented teams that probably deserve to be down there, but things don't always go your way in the playoffs, right. And everybody knows that. That's the beauty and the curse of soccer. Sometimes you can dominate everything but the scoreboard, and that's just how it goes. One of the cool things with the run this year, especially as we got deeper into the playoffs, and especially in the state tournament, is I started hearing from a lot of alumni that were on some of those teams, how excited they were about what the group was doing, and just like really congratulatory, and had several that were even actually able to make it down to the state tournament and watch the semifinal and the finals. So to have the support from some of those alumni that were part of those teams that, didn't quite get it done or, had some bad luck here and there, that was really cool.
Great stuff. Now, Olivia, being named state tournament MVP, I mean, what's that like? You try to process that and you're just kind of like, wow, is this really happening? What has that been like for you?
Honestly, I'm still really excited and I can't believe it happened. But honestly, I'm filled with such an amazing team. We're all talented, and I wouldn't have gotten it without them. We've worked really hard to get that, and just getting the MVP was a great accomplishment for me.
Right. Wouldn't expect anything less from your talented senior coach. Awesome stuff. So Olivia, as a senior, all right, you've seen some of the you've been there for some of the ups and some of the downs, and then the ultimate up this year, obviously. But what was different about this year's team? What could you maybe pinpoint was different this year?
I would say the chemistry we have with each other. We play really well with each other on the field. We're best friends off the field, so I think that plays a key role in how we play on the field. Definitely coaching. She's made an impact on our program. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Now,
I think you're trying to do the state a favor. She's just a junior. We get her for one more year.
Okay. Is she at 25? I actually thought she was at, okay. No, never mind.
Some people were trying to breathe a sigh of relief there. Don't let her out.
Right. Okay. Hey, my bad. I thought she was a 24. My bad. So now I know you are, as of now, verbally committed to Baylor, though. Correct, yes. Olivia?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I could have sworn 2024. So okay. Never mind. You come back for another year. Oh, coach. You should have let me just run with that, coach. You shouldn't have let that out. But all right. No, my apologies. My apologies on that. Rafa?
And I'm sure all the teams in Region 1 are going to be scared now.
They're like, great.
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 Question to Coach. One of the comments, I read a lot of comments, throughout, through the playoffs is we read into about your defense. We heard about your defense all the time, winning a lot of the games. Explain about your defensive efforts, because you really held some teams scoreless throughout the playoffs or no shots on goal. Is that a big difference this year? Winning the state title from the years before.
I wouldn't say that necessarily. Obviously, we very much harp on defense. One of the big things we really try to hammer into them is responsibilities about what they're covering on the field. Obviously in the playoffs, we kind of took it up to a different level. I think initially to start the season off, we were pretty young in some positions. And so for having some of those kids trying to figure out, like what level is it that I'm going to have to be at to be successful, in some of the teams with how talented they are, you make one mistake, the ball's in the back of your net. So I think as the season went on, we got a little more comfortable and got a little more solid in terms of what our responsibilities were. And we felt better and more comfortable as a group, throughout a lot of the preseason, even district play, we were missing a lot of starters throughout that. And so, just having to pencil people in and fill gaps, it took a little bit to kind of gel together. And, luckily once we got into playoffs, we were pretty much healthy for the most part the entire way. So, obviously to give up 4 goals in 7 games is pretty good. And then 3 of those goals were in the first 2 games. So really just to give up 1 goal from round 3 on, and that goal being a banger from South Lake Carroll, it's, if you don't get scored on, it's hard to lose. So, we felt really, really confident with how our defense was playing, especially once we got into the playoffs, that, if we could put the ball in the back of the net, we really probably weren't going to give anything away.
Right. Now, in that state semifinal, coach, versus Katy Seven Lakes, did that play out kind of the way you were thinking it would? And then once that was over, what was that transition like, getting ready for the final in Austin Westlake?
Yeah, like obviously going into the state tournament, we had tons of film on all 3 teams. So, I'd done a pretty extensive scouting report on all 3 of them going into it. We felt like the Seven Lakes was a pretty good matchup for us because the formation they play is a little more open and allows for a little more space for us attacking wise. And so going into it, we knew kind of what we could do to cause them some problems. And so it took us 15, 20 minutes really to get into that game offensively and to really create some good scoring chances. But once the first goal went in, we felt pretty comfortable because we were kind of dominating play in that first half. And then second half, it was really, we really wanted to get that second goal just so if there was a mistake that were to happen, we feel a little more comfortable. But, for the most part, it went the way we thought it was going to go. Obviously I got to live scout the other semifinal beforehand. So we knew going into it, it was going to be Westlake. And, with that one, both Rockwall and Westlake can be a little bit more defensive when they play that 3-5-2. And so, just having to switch formations and tactically what they were going to give us compared to that Seven Lakes game. That was the biggest thing about switching gears in terms of the type of game it was going to be. Right.
And, one of the conversations that we had on some of our episodes of Inside Texas High School Soccer leading up to that final was, we were really big on you all, really liked you all. And the question was really, it was a matter, we knew where you were defensively. It was just a matter of, how quick can you all figure it out in the attack, right? And can you get goals? That's what it was going to come down to, because that defense was so strong that typically once you all got one, yes, it kind of settles the nerves a little bit if you can get the second goal, right? But once you get that first one with that lockdown defense, it was going to be, you all were definitely going to be tough to score against. And you kind of got a bit of a tricky matchup in Westlake, because Westlake, I had kind of mentioned that was very different from maybe your traditional Westlake or programs from Westlake in the past, because it was a very kind of old school, gritty, tough, grinded out team. So did any of us necessarily have them in the final? No, but the more I started to see them, the more I was like, wow. So to see how that kind of game that played out was kind of interesting in that final. So that final, we talked about that final, Olivia, Ree. What was that like from your perspective on the field? Because sometimes as coaches, we see something different. But how was that playing out in real time?
Okay, I'll start.
Go ahead.
Okay, so honestly, going into it, we made sure we weren't too confident. We wanted to stay humble, and we knew as long as we played our game, we knew we had a really good chance at winning and pulling it out. And then going into halftime 0-0, we really had to lock in and really focus on like what our main goal was because we were all working towards the same goal. So I think it was like teamwork and just being calm.
Ree?
I think going into it, there's a lot of nerves going into a state final, but we're all really supportive of each other and like really hyped for the game. And yeah, as like Olivia said, 0-0 at halftime, there's like one thing we need to do. We need to keep lockdown, limit mistakes, and we need to score. And so luckily Liv was allowed to put a banger in second half and put us over, which led to us winning. So
There you go. Great stuff. Now, Ree, we come back to you, Ree. Now, you kind of came on our radar, right, a little over a year ago, right? So we come across this this crazy post, right, on Twitter, and we see you're in the ER, sitting there, big old smile on your face, a wrist that doesn't quite look what a wrist should look like, right? And she'll like, yeah, it's just a flesh wound. I'll be back in a week, right? And immediately I was like, and we were like, yeah, this is the kind of kid that that can play for me. And you've also been a big support of the podcast, so we thank you for that as well. Now, talk to us your perspective, right? Sophomore, got a lot of experience, but now tell us about, from your perspective, that environment at Georgetown on the field, just taking it all in. What was that like from your perspective?
it was really fun. I mean, we got to go to Georgetown once in January, but it's super fun to go do it again, especially when you're going for a state title. I mean, surrounded by like your best friends and you're doing what you love, like filled with 12 seniors, and just being really close with all of them. You just want to go win it for them. You want to go win it for everyone. There's a lot of nerves, but you kind of just work through it as a team. And when you're just succeeding on the field like that, like you're really like the butterflies go away, and it was just really fun.
Now, just to be clear, one of those 12 seniors is not Olivia Hess. Okay, so everybody around the state, settle down. Now, back to you, Ree. As these final seconds are ticking down in that final, right? What are the emotions like? What are you thinking? What are you trying to process there? Like mentally, emotionally, what are you thinking?
I think it was around like the 2-minute mark when it was clocking down when I literally turned to my other center back, Bea, and we're like, this is insane, like this is crazy. But then also we remembered that like you can score any minute, so we're like, okay, lock back in. And I think we're just, like really until it was the last 10 seconds when the parents started counting down, that's when I really got like let my guard down, and I was like, oh my gosh, we just won state. And
Yeah.
it was an insane feeling. It was surreal.
That's awesome. So, quick question here, Coach, from Ken Murphy. I'm sure you all are definitely familiar with him. Great guy. Was there a particular point during the postseason run that you started thinking, I think we can make a deep run, or was it just match to match? I know how a lot of us as coaches like to answer this, but the South Lake Curl match win had to provide great confidence. Anything you can elaborate on that, Coach?
Yeah, shout out Ken Murphy. Yeah, appreciate all he's done for us, all those shots and stuff he's got for us from games. Super talented guy. We really appreciate him. Even starting out in the first round against Coppell, having a double overtime winner with, scoring them basically on the last kick of the game, 30 seconds to go. Sometimes games like that, you just really get some momentum off of those really high emotional moments,
Right.
So I felt like that was a huge boost for us, because Coppell is a very, very talented team, so to get by them and the way we did it, I think really gave us a boost going into round 2 and 3. And then obviously, I think we had a lot of individual just clutch moments that really just kind of reinforced it. I don't know if it was necessarily one moment. It was just, every time we needed a clutch moment, it seemed like a different player would step up, and get the job done, whether it was our Bear Rosales getting the goal against Coppell, or whether it was Reagan Roberts in the solo 40-yard run against Hebron. Obviously South Lake Carroll, it's a totally different monster, in the pedigree they have over there. We knew that was going to be a really good game, but really liked our chances. That's the first time this group has gotten to play them since I've been here. And so, we felt confident going into that game, but we know, that was obviously going to be a very tough one. And so I think, to get that first shootout win was huge, especially, because we kind of had to hang on a little bit there at the end and really just play some really solid defense and have a couple of just unreal saves by our goalkeeper.
Right.
So I think that's a big boost. I think once we got over that hurdle, we felt really confident going into round 5 of regional final against Marcus. Obviously, they're very talented. We played them earlier in the year. But, to have that another emotional win going into that regional final, really felt like, okay, we got a pretty good shot here.
Right. Now, from your perspective, Coach, right, we're pretty good about kind of suppressing, remaining composed for our players. Those final seconds are ticking down, right? What's going on inside of you, and then what are you displaying externally? Are you allowing yourself to really show emotion, or have you just lost track of everything? What's that like from your perspective?
To be honest with you, I was still trying to analyze where they were going to throw that ball in as the clock was ticking 0. It's just until the clock hits, I'm still in coach mode. So, when it finally hit 0 and kids were running on the field, it kind of just hit me there in the moment of, like, holy crap, we really just did that, I've only been coaching in Prosper for 5 years, but I've been doing it for longer than that, and so you see the teams, like I've been down to Georgetown and watched teams win it, and you see the teams you compete against for the last several years go down there and, teams from Region 1 going down there and get it done. It's a different perspective when you're down there on the field and you're the one that people are getting to watch do that, so a little bit surreal there, just kind of like, we really did something that is kind of, people were asking me how it felt, and I said, it feels unreal. Like it's hard to describe the feeling.
Yeah. And what would you say what was maybe the biggest surprise from your perspective as a coach, being there? Maybe something that took you by surprise, just being on the sideline, whether it was the state semifinal, the final, or something that just kind of you didn't maybe necessarily see coming about just the environment. Was there anything?
I don't know. I don't know there was anything that really took me off guard. I think one benefit, the way we approached the season was we tried to approach every game we played like it's a state final. So mentally, we've kind of been there for a long time. And so I think that helped to where I didn't really feel like the semifinal or the final was any different in terms of how we prepared for it or, the things that we did leading up to it.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, Olivia, as we mentioned earlier, we know as of right now you're verbally committed to Baylor, so congratulations. And Ree, we know, hey, it's not the ultimate date, but we know things kind of start picking up come June 15th, right? So we look forward to seeing how that goes in your progression in your journey as well. So wishing you the absolute best of luck. And as we start to wrap up here, Coach. Actually, no, let me send it back to Rafa real quick. Almost forgot. Rafa, any final questions, thoughts for Coach?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask the ladies, how's the field playing in Region 1, with all those teams, mental preparation for that. Coach mentioned like you guys play like it's a state final. How do you feel about competing against these other stacked teams?
Honestly, because everyone's so talented in Region 1, it's even an accomplishment to even get out of there.
Right.
And we knew we had to work hard.
I'd say since it's all in the same area, there's a lot of familiar faces from club friends or just people and everyone's really talented. It's always a tough game. No matter who's you're playing, how many times you play them, it's always going to be a battle. So it's like Olivia said, it's really nice to get out of there.
Right. Awesome. So we start to wrap up here, Coach. So you all now shift, and this one's really actually. I got to come back. One thing I almost forgot. Where are we at with, as what I like to call ring picking, ring fitting operations, designs? Where are we with that?
I feel like compared to some of the other ones, we're ahead of the game.
Really?
Rings are designed. They've already been ordered. We got to last week. They did a little pep rally for us at school. The captains had seen the ring designs going in before that, to see if we make any tweaks or anything like that. But we got to do a pep rally and have the official ring designs up on the Jumbotron as the girls came in. So they got to see them for the first time, the ones that weren't captains. And so got those designs picked out and should be here soon.
Yeah. So when's the unveiling? Is there a preliminary unveiling that we're going to see on social media before you guys actually wear them? Or
I can post a picture whenever, I guess. I have it.
There you go.
But it's maybe a little teaser or something. Yeah,
little teaser. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. So Olivia Ree, what was that like? Was coach did coach just have complete veto power, right? And it was a dictatorship when it came to the ring, or how did that work?
Honestly, like he gave us like a design, like a template, I guess, and like we were allowed to have some input, but like honestly, the design he gave us was like really good. Like we didn't have like any complaints or anything.
Wow, awesome,
Yeah.
great stuff. Ree, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And Rafa, any final questions for Coach or Olivia or Ree?
No, it's going back to the rings. It could be a nice one, those big ones, or the small ones.
Yeah,
How we
it's gonna
talk
be
to the other teams, or
right.
the
I
other
guess what
teams. That's it.
Wakeland
How
said
big
they
is the
want. What did
bling?
they say? Wakeland said they wanted bling, right? They
Yeah.
a gigantic thing. So how about you guys, Coach? What are we doing here?
You'll be able to see it for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
All right. Oh,
it's not gonna be hidden.
really? Teasing. Big teaser. I like that. Awesome. So now as we start to wrap up, Coach, you guys now shift from being the hunters to being the hunted, right? Now you're the the reigning state champions. So how do you follow this up? We just awarded Olivia an extra year of eligibility, right? So
That's a start.
right. how do you follow this? What are your thoughts as yeah, I mean, ultimately, as we work as coaches, we have a little bit of downtime. We process what just happened the season that was, but then we immediately start getting ready again, right? How do you follow this up?
Yeah, I mean that's something we talked about actually the first day of training was I think that our biggest enemy is going to be complacency. When you finally get that first title, I think sometimes it's a little bit easy to fall back and kind of let some things slip from a player perspective. It was good enough to get it done. And I think the biggest thing from our perspective is just making sure we stay locked in and um, you know you have that growth mindset of, we did really well last year, but we're going to have to step it up even to another level because, we already plan on getting everybody's best game and they're going to try and push it to a different level to try and knock off the champs. And so, we just have to have that mindset of we can't slip up at all or, we'll struggle.
Right. Ken Murphy dropping all the behind the scenes secrets here. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Ken. And a very similar question here from our good friend, member of the podcast, actually, Steve, mentioning basically what we just hit on, Coach, here about some of the challenges and thoughts of going into next year. So thank you, Steve. So as we wrap up here, Coach, ladies, one of the things that we like to do is our stoppage time kind of final thoughts, right? We share just shout outs, thank yous, whatever's on your mind as it relates to your season, this team, whatever you want to share with us. We like to wrap up and give the floor to our guests. So we will start. Let's start with Ree. Ree, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Probably just want to thank like the community and all the support from like our families, just always showing up like to district games, preseason, playoff, and then making the final 3-hour drive to Georgetown to support us down in the state finals. So, yeah.
All right, Olivia.
Yeah, I would say everything that Reese said. The support was amazing. Like before we would go to a playoff game, we had our parents come out, and then like our seniors, like they played a huge role in our team, and like we wouldn't have gotten to where we are without them. And like we just want to thank them so much for everything they've done for the whole team.
And Coach, we'll wrap up with you.
Yeah, a lot of shout outs. Shout out to the community of Prosper and our athletic department. They've been so supportive of us on this run and really embraced, the journey that we kind of went on that with us. So, that was really awesome. Shout out to my assistant. I think I've got one of the best assistant coaches in the state of Texas. She does a fantastic job of helping me do all the things we have to do to make the team successful. So really want to shout out Coach Malden for everything she does. And then my wife, she was basically a single parent for like the last month of playoffs, taking care of our little one. So, got to go down to the state tournament with him, and he got to be down there on the field after we won it too. So that was a super special moment, to have her be so supportive and what we're doing. And when she's not there, she's watching it on NFHS and keeping up with everything. And then shout out to the other 2 state champions. I don't think this got mentioned yet, but the 3 champions are within a 15-mile radius of each other. If you look at us and Salina and Wakeland, that's that's got to be some kind of record. You look at the
we were aware of that. Yeah.
It's crazy. We scrimmaged both of them to prep for it too. So, shout out to those guys because they do a great job with their programs and, help get us ready for the road ahead of us.
Right. Yeah, we were definitely aware of that. You all in Salina, especially being next door neighbors. So quick question in here from Ken Murphy. So this one's for you, Ree. So how will you feel not seeing your big sister always there next year? Probably be something weird.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be super sad. I mean, not seeing her and her being like states away, not seeing her every morning, her driving me to school, it's definitely sad to not be able to like play with her on a team ever again, which is, makes me feel super sentimental, but I'm also really happy for her and her moving on to bigger things.
Yeah. Ken Murphy's in here trying to make you cry. I know. I can see what he's doing. No, thank you, Ken. Well, yeah, guys, this has been great. Thank you so much. Again, they are your 2024 girls 6A state champions, the Prosper Eagles. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, Coach Olivia, Ree. Thank you so much, and best of luck. Enjoy your downtime, the off season. Still continue to train. Great summer, safe summer, and we look forward to covering you guys next season.
Thank you so much for having us.
Take care. Thank you. You guys have a good night. Bye-bye. All right, man. Great stuff. What a good group, man. Good group. So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Very deserving. I guess one thing you can, for them, it was just a perseverance. Like you mentioned about the disappointment the last few years, because if you remember, like some of the bracketologies we did, when we picked them to go deep. I think even one year we picked them, I think, to get to the state tournament, and they had some first round losses, or they maybe a second round because they ran into some teams that got hot, and sometimes it wasn't their night, and finally I think the turning point, I think maybe from it, and maybe could have asked them what the turning point of the season for them, and I think might have been that South Lake Curl game. I think maybe they started to believe, hey, this is our year, to win it all. And but kudos to them, and they're still going to be a dangerous team next year. I mean, I know they're going to be now the hunted, because you got other teams like they mentioned that Region 1. You still got South Lake Curl, you still got Marcus, you got Flower Mound. It's just, that Dallas area is just loaded with a lot of talented teams. But they mentioned just to get out of Region 1, that could even be a state championship bracket if you can really kind of look at it.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think they're going to be. I think for next year, I think like I said, they have great leadership, and I think they're going to. I think that what they learned from this, especially from the underclassmen, I think they're going to be mentally prepared, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get back to Georgetown again next year.
Yeah, and the one thing you can tell is just it's kind of just it's a breath of fresh air just from the stand. Not a knock on anyone else, but you can just tell this is it's a group that's very, very humble, and also they just show a lot of appreciation for what they've accomplished. Right, it's a lot of respect for for what they've accomplished, our sport, everything, and it's a really good, humble group, and you continue to see that with our state champions, right, and just from the coaches on down to the players. Really, you find yourself, they're really easy to root for. So congratulations, Coach Dickinson and his squad, and especially thank you to Olivia and Ree for joining us. So, all right, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this quick word from one of our partners, and then we're going to bring in our final edition of the champions with the KD 7 Lakes Spartans. We're thrilled to tell you about our world-class partners, AR Shots, your go-to destination for exceptional photography experiences in San Antonio and across all of Texas. As a seasoned professional and published photographer, Alonso Ramirez specializes in capturing the essence of your most memorable moments. From dynamic team media days and live-action game days to heartwarming family gatherings and elegant senior portraits, he makes every shot count. What sets him apart? His unwavering commitment to deliver the best customer service in the Lone Star State. With major international and professional sports event experience, AR Shots' work speaks for itself. He is dedicated to making your photography experience straightforward and enjoyable. So why settle for ordinary when you can experience extraordinary with AR Shots? Contact him today so he can turn your vision into a stunning reality. Check him out at arshots.net as well as on X and Instagram at arshots. All right, and we are back. Rafa, what do you say? Should we bring in the last crew of the champions? What do you think?
Yeah. I think this is a familiar face. I think that we had last year.
Yeah, never heard of the guy. Never heard of the
No.
guy. So, gentleman who is definitely no stranger to the podcast, Coach Jimmy Kruger. Coach, how are you?
Doing great. How are y'all?
Doing great, and he brings in one of the absolute best talents in the nation, state MVP Aiden Morrison. Aiden, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Hey, we're great. Hey, we're joined by you guys, man. We're joined by 6A royalty, right? So thank you for being here. And let's jump right in, Coach. Back-to-back state titles. First ones to do it in 6A. What is you wrapped your head around that yet?
Not really, but it's basically on the backs of the quality of players that we've had over the past 2 years. And it was a big benefit last year when we only had 3 senior starters on the field, and we knew what we had coming back, and the core group were 100% in it for each other, and it just was a recipe for what happened.
Yeah. And Aiden, your perspective, what is that like processing what you guys have done? First ones to do it, 6A. I know you want to give me just the humble answer, right? But like, what does that feel like? How much are you really like digging that, appreciating that? Has that sunk in?
Yeah, probably not yet. I mean, we've had some time off and some time to process it, but something like that is pretty hard to process and get your head around. So, I mean, probably not completely yet, but I'm trying to get my head around it so that I can move on and get ready for the next chapter in my life. But with all that success, it's a little hard.
And we'll get to that more in a little bit. But Coach, what was your personal opinion, right? You assessed last season and this season. Which was more difficult in your personal opinion, winning it last year or repeating this year?
I would say repeating. We had a difficult playoff run and quality of opponent. And then at the same time, keeping the guys, I would say, hungry for the entirety of the season, not just the actual games itself, but all the nuts and bolts from a day-to-day concept, showing up to training with the same desire and passion that they had on day one. But luckily, it wasn't that big of a struggle because the guys wanted to achieve that. And it was the big mission. You want to challenge your team from day one. And last year it was obviously to do what we haven't done yet. And this year was to do what no 6A program has done yet. So anything that can be used to motivate a teenager, we threw at them.
Yeah. So, Aiden, your perspective, both winning, being awarded the state MVP, state tournament MVP, and then also kind of Coach was alluding to it a little bit. What would you say between what was that like for you? But then also within the personality, the makeup of this team, what has all that been like this year?
Yeah, the state MVP it's a cool award, and it's awesome that I won it. But more importantly is the championship, and that's what I cared about the most. At the end of the day, someone was going to win the MVP, and it happened to be me. But the state championship is what I was really chasing and focusing on. And yeah, this year, it was definitely the best year of high school for me, just because of all the friends and all of it coming together in our senior year, and us ending on top is the perfect ending. So yeah, it was a great year.
Right. You look at last year's team, right? Your initial state title, and then this year's team. What would you say if you could isolate maybe the most similar thing and the most different thing between last year's team and this year's team? What would you say, in your opinion?
Well, probably there's 2 similar things. One would definitely be the players. We had so many players coming back, and so many players with state tournament experience, state championship experience. And that was one thing that was definitely very similar. And another thing that was so similar was our desire and our will to win, and the friendships and relationships we had with each other, just always working for each other day in and day out. And that's ultimately what led us to be successful is our chemistry and our bond with one another, where really no matter what happens, we know we'll stick together. And probably the biggest difference, I don't know. I mean, we're very similar to last year just because of all the players we had coming back. I would say maybe a different story in districts and in preseason, with different players coming in at different times and having different challenges than we did last year.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Rafa?
Yeah, Coach. I know. We followed you for the season, and you had a lot of teams really kind of gunning for you, especially during district. You had a couple a couple of ties, and I know you lost that one last regular season game. But going into the playoffs, how was the players' mentality going to the after that loss? Against Cinco Ranch.
I mean, the loss against Cinco Ranch was a non-factor for us just because everything was wrapped up. Both programs treated it just like a friendly, if you will.
Mhm.
So I don't think any player put anything into their mind about what happened that night. It was more so, all right, we're ready for what we've been sitting here and waiting for the entire year. That was postseason play and to pick up where we left off last year. So, you're going to take your knocks over the course of a season.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare to do anything perfect. It's very rare in our district and the level of competition that's there every night to remain undefeated, to remain perfect. It doesn't matter. Each of those mistakes, if you will, become learning moments, or rather recharging the battery and getting the guys to kind of reset their focus is something that's significant. So that first blemish in our record was that tie against Katy on a Saturday morning. We actually kicked off at lovely hour of 8 a.m. But
wow.
And I said, if that's what it takes for us to stay driven and focus, that tie will be completely fine. And
Mm-hmm.
you just use it as a motivational tool in any way, shape, or form you can. So that's what we do.
Right. 8 a.m. Wow.
Wow.
Did not know that. So you had what pregame warm up started at what, like 6:50? Yeah, 6:50 a.m.
I was in my second coffee of the day, so that's nowhere near where I should be at that time.
Right. Now, Coach, was there a moment that you could like clearly identify, right? That was like maybe a big aha moment, for lack of better words, where last year's experience came up big this year, where you're like, hey, what we experienced last year helped us get through this moment today?
I mean, the easiest answer in the world would be the regional quarterfinals. Been there, done that. District opponent that's very talented, well coached, talented players from all three lines. We were trailing that game, and we hadn't been trailing many games outside the Cinco Ranch. So guys didn't panic, and we were fortunate enough to find an equalizing goal. And then we again go into a PK shootout. And I think all the guys had all the confidence in the world that Benavides Fair was going to step up and do what he does. And
Mm-hmm.
he lives in those big moments. So, that's the easiest answer I can give you.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, Aiden, we understand, obviously, you are headed to Liberty, right? Tell us, how is that going? What are the preparations like for that? What is your summer looking like? And when do you leave? Do you have all that already? You got all that ironed out?
Yeah, just the other day they sent me my fitness packet and everything.
Oh, the lovely packet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a little scary reading it all, but no, I'm ready. I'm looking forward to this summer. Me and Coach Cruz paths aren't going to part just yet. He's going to coach CF10 here in Katy, which is an NPSL team, and a lot of former players from Katy ISD are going to come back and play. It should be fun and a good high level for us, and definitely a good platform for me to get ready for college.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah, I'm sure all of your opponents will just appreciate that. That'll be great. So, Coach, we transition back over to you. I gotta ask you about this. I've never seen somebody more determined to stop whatever they were doing and just walk right towards to get a Gatorade bath from their team after a state championship. It's like you stopped an interview to just say, "Hey, I got to go over here so that they can dump a bucket on me." What were you thinking there?
So in my mind, it's the least I can do for them, right? They do everything I ask of them for, day one till the final game of the year. So why run from that moment? So many coaches would live or, go. They would want that moment more than anything else, and why run from it? It's just something that they want to do. So you just go, you accept it, you get it over with. And they turn out to be pretty good photos after the fact when you're not running away. You just accept your fate.
Yeah, it was great. It was just, I still have the visual of you telling the reporter to hold on one second. Let me come over here. And then it's just like 10 pounds of just water and ice thrown on you. Great stuff. Yeah. And you're right. It made for some great photos. Now we talk about the state tournament coach, semifinal versus Duncanville. How did that key lessons learned there? That because it was a little bit of a tricky matchup initially going in, but lessons learned there that propelled you and prepared you for your final versus Flower Mound.
So Duncanville was an extremely hardworking side, and they were dangerous. Y'all were right going into it. It was a tricky matchup for us because it wasn't a traditional style that they were trying to bring. So it was just us managing their physicality and their work rate, and just kind of absorbing the first 15 or 20 minutes of that, because that's typically what you see with teams that want to start fast and get in your face. And as we settled into the game, we knew that we could eventually establish possession, get them to start chasing the game. And, with the caliber of player that we have on the field, we just trust each other and trust them to weather the storm, if you will. But again, Duncanville was an extremely good team, and we were fortunate enough to, not only get the one, but get the second one to release a little bit of the late game pressure, if you will, for us to, get away with it and play in the final day.
Yeah. Now, Aiden, from your perspective, right? You see a squad like Duncanville in the semifinal, and then you got to shift quickly to a different style, if you will, for lack of better words, in Flower Mound. As a player on the field, you're their team captain. What is that like on the field when you're making that transition from one squad to another and everything's on the line? Here we are talking state final, trying to go back to back. What is that like?
Yeah, I would say, no matter who we play, we know that we have our own identity and our own way of playing. And no matter who we play against, we stick to our style. And Duncanville were a great side, and they worked really hard, but we knew we could outwork them, and we did. And then preparing for the final is what came next, and that final was a tough game as well, and had its own adversities. But But yeah, as captain, I know people look up to me and look for me in times of adversity, and if I can instill confidence into people, that's what I'll do, no matter if it's through my work rate or putting a challenge in or just working hard for my teammates. And as captain, I think that's a big role of mine, and I do my best to do that.
You get that goal. You get that goal right in the final. What's going through your mind in that moment? Be honest.
Yeah, once it went in, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. I couldn't do anything else. I started crying right then and there, to be honest with you.
It's awesome.
There's some funny pictures. I know Coach Crew likes to make fun of us, crying in the corner. But when it went in, it was all the weight of the world was lifted, and overwhelmed with emotions.
Awesome. Well, I got some pretty good ones of him getting a bucket of ice dumped all over him. So let me know he picks on you.
Yeah.
I'll share them with you. Rafa?
Yeah, that going into that game against Flower Mound, what was the key things going to, what was your game plan against Flower Mound, knowing how talented that team into that final?
Is that for me?
For you. Yeah, for your coaches.
The big thing is for them is managing that weapon that is that throw-in. That was the one thing we didn't want to do, and we happened to fail it. It was not to concede on a throw-in. It's just one of these things. Luckily, we've been well practiced in it. We've had district opponents that had the same kind of style and would, when they're in their attacking third, even the edge of their middle third, would often want the ball to go out of bounds versus keep it in play, just to have the chance to have that free set piece from 40 yards out or whatever it may be. So that, and just the direct and the physicality, and they do have a couple players that we were mindful of, and it's just one of these things where in 2022 we struggle with a bigger physical team, and in 2024 my younger team is now more mature and able to handle it, and they were able to hold them off and then create the moment. To kind of piggyback on the Aiden Morrison free kick, when he came out of the pile, he was basically bawling. He had tears running all the way down his face. He wasn't processing anything. I was, going into overtime, I asked him, I said, "How are your legs?" Because if you watched him play in the semis and finals, he was all over the field doing everything we needed defensively, playing as solid as six as I've seen in a while. And I asked him, "How are your legs?" He goes, "I have another engine." That's exactly what he said to me. I said, "Well, great. In the second half of of overtime, I'm going to bump you up because I don't want this to go to pens." And when he scored, I was screaming at him, "You're going to go back to the six." I held the six up for, I felt like 45 seconds, but Aiden's such an intelligent player. He already knew. He was already back there. Yeah. So I was just, wasting energy for nothing.
Now, is that how it played out, Aiden, or do you have a different side of the story?
Yeah, he told me after he was as loud as he could be, and I didn't hear a word of what he was saying. So
no, that's all. That's
he
great.
told me he was too busy being emotional. I said, "Okay, I understand." It was kind of a big moment.
Yeah. Now, would you say that maybe, Aiden, that particular moment, when you look back on this, what will you take as, you're fortunate enough, you and your teammates, right? You're fortunate enough to be victorious on the final game, of the season, right? The final. And then you look at going back to back. What do you take away as maybe your greatest memory on what you and your teammates have accomplished here?
Yeah, I mean, for myself, my personal memory is going to be that goal. I mean, that's something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I could get dementia and still tell my kids about that goal, but I mean, as a team, obviously winning state is incredible just the first time, and to do it twice is unheard of for 6A. And so, I mean, yeah, just all the memories that come with that is something I'm going to remember forever, definitely.
Greatest memory you'll take away? Obviously, Coach, you see out some seniors this year, right? That have been with that journey with you in making your run a couple of years, right, up to Georgetown and winning back to back. What will be the greatest memory you have of this group?
So as a coach, you're lucky enough to see one of your players be the state MVP. I'm fortunate enough to have it in back-to-back years. I would say, both Hunter Merritt and Aiden getting their moment and everything they deserve is something that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Getting to see Aiden Morrison step over a ball with 30 yards out with 2 minutes and some change on the clock, and every single person on the bench saying he's about to score this. So yes, he is. Everyone had full confidence in him. Will be something that I will remember. Seeing the kids in their celebration, seeing them hug, cry, seeing them freak out when they're crying and in a vulnerable state, and they look over and a camera is shoved in their face. All those little things. It's great to be able to revisit it. And I can't pinpoint one. I can pinpoint moments in the entire journey. Their freshman year, rolling up, saying, Aiden Morrison had his first training session in front of me in a COVID skills session over the summer, where they were about 20 to 30 yards away from his guy that he's working with, and all he's doing is pinging a ball back and forth between them, settling in a tight space, right foot, left foot. I walk up to him and go, "Hey, going to move you in the 7th period because I didn't do anything. I said, oh, you've done enough. And, it's just his and his teammates' journey from freshman year to senior.
Yeah.
I can relive any moment. It's been absolute joy to be a part of.
Right. Great stuff. Great stuff. Thank you both for sharing that. And, the most important question now, right? We've gotten all that stuff out of the way. Aiden, where are we at, man? Where are we at with ring fitting operations? Have we picked out the design? We talked about with Coach Dickinson right now with Prosper, right? Is it, we asked his girls, it's like, hey, is it a dictatorship? He has just final veto power. What do we, is he letting you guys run it? What's going on?
Yeah, I think Crew's doing a great job with letting us have a say on it and everything. Last year's one is a lot more of a trophy, and it's pretty big. And we're looking to change that for this year. We're going to make it a wearable size, something I can wear every day and show off to everyone. We got designs coming in, and I already know my size from last year, So
there you go. So the design is still in works, or are we done with that, or what's going on?
It's still in works. It's almost done.
There you go.
It was like 95% complete and featured at our banquet, but this group of guys are like, no, we're not sizing up. That was the first thing our ring vendor wanted. He wanted it to go 2 knuckles. He wanted it to be like a 5XL or 7XL and be like a 10-pound weight on your arm, and it just these things are getting crazy. So
I know.
First one's a display piece. The second one's something that they can be proud to wear, from day to day, and not get carpal tunnel.
Yeah. I keep talking about the trying to come out, corner the market with like a ring within a ring, where you make the big gigantic one, but you got a ring within it, the one for the everyday wear. I think I might be onto something there. So we'll see. More to come. So
side hustle.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not doing anything else, right? So.
Yeah. Yep.
Rafa?
Coach, so after, like I said, a couple of weeks after everything's kind of settled, now you look towards 2025. How do you feel about next year? Could we see the 3-peat? I know, is that something then that this players, the underclassmen are looking, forward to trying to get that accomplishment?
So everything's about an identity, right? And the younger guys really want to find their own version, their own identity. And I'm seeing a group of our younger players kind of come together. Like I saw Aiden and Daniel Ajernois and Diego Flamenco and Fernando Lazo and all these other guys come together. So it's fun to see it. We're gonna do everything we can to get this group ready to compete and do the badge, do the school, do the community proud. The biggest pro, I guess you can say, is there's a bunch of new faces that will be in there, and my stories won't be heard for the 4th or 5th time, and they get tired of me or whatever it may be, because some of these guys have been with me 3 or 4 years. So I've got that going for me. But outside of that,
those.
New year, new challenge. So I'm looking forward to getting after it with these guys and trying to get them as close to their ceiling as we can.
Great stuff. And the one thing before I forget, got to mention this because I did forget to mention it with Coach Dickinson and his crew earlier. One of the things, Coach, that by virtue of winning your state title, the ring is nice, don't get me wrong, but the more important thing, the thing that everybody really ultimately wants, I think Rafa has handy there nearby, is for being the top dog there in 6A, is we got one of these coming your way, right? So same thing to Coach Dickinson. I'll have to make sure I follow up with him. Our 2.0 edition of the 50/50 podcast scarf. So that'll be in the mail. It's compliments of our great friends at Global Scarves. So you're going to start collecting all of these. I know you have the 1.0 version.
It's above the right shoulder right now. I'll create a 50/50 podcast scarf wall.
There you go. There you go. So that's really what you guys were chasing this whole year, Aiden. You know, it wasn't the title, it wasn't the ring, it was the scarf. Okay, so
I didn't know that till now, but
your coach, yeah, he'd been. You know, that's a new story that he can use, right? So awesome. So as we start to wrap up here, gentlemen, as you guys know, as coach, you know, you've definitely been on here before. We like to wrap up and give our guests an opportunity, give them the floor in stoppage time, share any final thoughts, shout outs, thank yous, anything as it relates to yourself, your team, your teammates, you know, the game, whatever. The floor is yours, and we'll start with you, Aiden.
I would just say thank you to everyone that's been a part of our journey, whether that's our families, our friends, the fans that come and support. Our principal, Miss Finnison, she supports us so much. She's awesome. Kyle Green, I love that guy, head of soccer for KDISD. He's awesome, and yeah, all the people that have been a part of our journey, supporting us and helping us. I think Coach Kruger's done an amazing job and had a huge impact on my life, and I know all my teammates' lives, and we've been able to create amazing memories. And I want to say big thank you to all my teammates, because without them, none of this would have been possible. And for always working for each other and caring about each other and being there. And yeah, I mean, memories that will last forever. So
great stuff. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, to piggyback, Mrs. Finnison, our principal, you know, she doesn't bat any eyes about providing for our kids. And, you know, she got an Italian restaurant booked for us because the girls program and the boys program were there. So we were treated pretty well on our opening night at Georgetown. So thank you for everything she's done. Our admin staff, Coach Hammond, you know, we're fortunate enough at Seven Lakes to have an athletic coordinator that cares about all sports, not just football. And, you know, just the sharing of facilities alone is enough to make us able to do what we want to do. You know, my staff, Coach Colkman, Coach Hackney, and then obviously the real boss behind the scenes, my wife, Erin.
There you go.
She keeps it all together, you know,
yeah.
And it gets harder. It doesn't get easier. You think it would after year, but when your kids get older, they get more demanding and they have their own personalities and they want to do their own thing. And they might not want to get out there and watch their, you know, 200th game or whatever it may be, but she makes sure that they remember what really matters. And, you know, so the household would be an utter mess if it wasn't for her. And she's also a coach and she's also a teacher and she has her own set of problems and issues. And I'm proud to say that she's now going to be a Seven Lakes Spartan next year. So I will be the second best Coach Kruger on campus.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I did not know that. That's awesome. Great to hear. And got to give the shout out. Got to give the shout out to the boss, right? That's what I call my spouse, my wife, right? I always tell everybody, right, when it comes to my wife, right? I say I introduce myself, I'm the head coach, but I introduce her as the neck coach. And we all know the neck controls the head, right? So just gotta give that shout out to the spouses. So I know the other day when we had we had Wakeland on here, right? Jimmy Langford said that I think what he's give tons of shout outs to his wife and calls her what do you say, a soccer widow or something, I think is what he said during the season, right? During the season. So definitely agree with you on that one. So really appreciate you all, gentlemen. Thank you so much. They are your 2024 back-to-back state champions, the Katy Seven Lakes Spartans. Congratulations so much. Thank you so much for being here. Aiden, all the best to you going forward. Have a great summer. Look forward to hearing great things from you in Liberty. And Coach, we'll be in touch. Look forward to being able to work with you some more for sure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great night.
See ya.
Awesome stuff, man. So Aiden Morrison, such a good dude. So, and Coach Kruger, you know, he's been tremendous, and I'll mention that a little bit more towards our end here. But before we wrap up, we got one more message here from a couple of our partners, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put a bow on this. Looking to step up your social media marketing game? Well, let us tell you about our great friends at Gipper. Gipper is a way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 4,000 coaches, ADs, SIDs, and club directors who use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part? Anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. If you do have significant design experience, you're going to love this as well, as you are what they call the power user, and this is designed with you in mind as well. And just for being a listener and supporter of the 50/50 podcast, you can receive savings immediately and save 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. Simply visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050. And then there are our great friends at Global Scarves, both Bill and Kyle. They are the top providers of custom knitted scarves, beanies, and other fan merchandise in the U.S. All merch is fully custom with free design services and free shipping on all orders. They do so much more, guys, than just scarves. Blankets, beanies, you name it. It's all designed and all customized to your specifications and needs. You can contact them at info@globalscarves.com to get any free designs or quotes built out for your school, club, or maybe even a supporters group. Simply mention the podcast or use the code #5050pod and they will be sure to take care of it. All right. Awesome. Thoughts, man? Great stuff.
Yeah, great. Like I mentioned, great insight. Two great programs. Like I said, one finally broke through, got their first one, and one that made history. Going back to back, especially in the 6A classification, and they had some adversity, and he mentioned, but like I said, that experience really, helped them get through the games, and like I said, now he got his second Gatorade bath back to back years that he can enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, it's been great. I'm thinking back, seeing 14 episodes this year, and it's I don't know. This year just seemed different. Obviously, returning to UIL myself, and just a lot of fun, a lot of different. I know you had mentioned just the level of the upsets as we got into the tournament as well, and it was just pretty amazing. Take it all in. I can't believe we're here, and we kind of wrap it up here this year, and so many people to thank. So many different directions to go, but you talk about Prosper winning their first, and then we also talk about having Katie Seven Lakes on here and Coach Kruger, and I got to give a shout out to Coach Kruger, just what we've been able to do in his other role, right, as COO, Chief Operating Officer at Tasco, and their investment, Tasco's investment in us, right, in the podcast, and letting us cover the convention, and just being big supporters of us as we are supporters of them. And it's just been phenomenal. So grateful to him on that front as well. And, like we always say, is when you see good people, right, from the coach's perspective, good people doing great things, whose hearts are in the right place with good intentions, they're always so much easier to root for. So, all right, Coach, final thoughts, stoppage time in our final episode of season 4, Inside Texas High School Soccer. What do you got?
Yeah, this has been an interesting year. Like you mentioned about the playoffs, a lot of upsets. It was very, but that makes it fun. These covering these games, and whether we see them in person or on NFHS or live stream, it's just great action and stuff. And I've got to enjoy a lot of great games, and like I said, I went to a few of your games. Good to enjoy your moment, getting your first playoff win, and seeing other teams too, other programs. When my opportunities, when I get to, when I travel with my work, I get to watch some teams I normally don't get to see. So it was a great season, and I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next year. We'll see what changes there'll be. We keep on hearing those, I don't want to say rumors, but maybe this changes, possibly adding another classification or going to divisions. But now that we know the realignment's already out, especially for 6A and 5A, some interesting districts, going forward. Some interesting matchups are going to be.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of some. There's going to be some. I think more exciting games, and then with 4A too, not settled yet with their I'm sure they'll add some other teams there, but we're gonna see which teams actually can rise to the occasion. Who's gonna be the next Prosper? Prosper. We've seen some teams that have been kind of knocking on the door. Is this this 2025? Is this the year they take that next step and get to the final? Get to the state tournament and get to the final and win it. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to. Who's gonna take that role? And we're also witnessing, possibly, I know for sure for 4A girls, we're starting to witness a dynasty with Salina and, with Seven Lakes. They've really established themselves there in the Houston area, but also statewide too. And Coach Greer, again, like I said, he's really built a great culture there. Can they get that? I think they have a good shot maybe getting in that third ring. It's going to be tough because he mentioned there was some adversity. That Katy district is probably one of the best districts in the state, especially like when they ran at the Cinco Ranch in Jordan. That I remember that game that when they won in the penalty kicks, that was probably one of the wildest games that we've seen, all year.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what my take off this. Overall, my kind of my final take. It's been a fun year. I'm looking forward for next year. What it's those teams who can step it up, who can get to rise to those occasions. Like, even the teams that fell short of it, like, for example, that Westlake team, nobody saw them coming.
Yeah.
Are they going to be the team to beat next, this coming year, and so forth. So I'm looking forward to it and see what, especially for next year's bracketology and so forth, but also want to thank you, for having me on here, Steve and Harry also too, just, the amount of work, we all, we do together. It's great. It's like a family and we just feed off each other, our knowledge and so forth. It's just, it's fun. Like I said, we don't do this for money. We don't do this for anything else. We just do it for the love of the game. And that's what, it's coming straight from the heart on my part.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well said. I think, a couple of questions for you really quick. Biggest this year, we talked about this in our after the state final, right? The 6A finals. But now, right, even after the champions, and you've had a little bit more time to digest it, what would you say is the biggest, what was to you, in your opinion, your biggest surprise of this season? Like if you could just say in general as a sport, not related to one side, whether it be the boy side or girl side, but just in general, something that kind of really symbolized this season that surprised you.
I think, you just couldn't take games for granted. I think that was the biggest side. I noticed a lot of the games, some of the favorites, got humbled. I mean, that's just a reality. And, and I think anybody can be beaten at any time. But that tells you how the level of soccer has taken a step up, especially from like last year. You had your usual suspects that make those deep runs. This year we had some different teams that made some runs. Like for example, we had like that Waxahachie Live team. Nobody saw them coming from anywhere. That was a shock, surprise there. Salado too. I mean, I know they've been also knocking on the door too. And, so there were some, like I said, there were some great programs out there that really kind of, like I said, rose up. But the thing is, the level of play and the competitions is just getting better and better. But it makes it more exciting games. And that's something to really kind of look forward for next year.
Yeah. And biggest thing you look forward to, one specific thing, you hit on a few things, but the biggest thing you're looking forward to as we go into 2024, 2025.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to is who's ready to take their program to the next level. And I've seen, like I said, we've talked, like I said, I mentioned about how we do the the power rankings and so forth, and we've had some great teams on the power rankings. But who's really there's some that kind of, for me, it's more like who's going to be the next prospect, who's going to take it to that next level, and I think there's a few out there, and and also there's been, like I said, what is that one key ingredient that's going to help them take them to Georgetown, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to. So seeing that team that rises, that surprises everybody, had nobody kind of like, was kind of had an eye on them and really turned it up. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then, but like I said, it just makes it for exciting, high school soccer here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, and we may be coming back to you with maybe in June, right? Maybe, or if not early July, with an emergency edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, depending upon, because there might be some interesting things coming out of Austin this summer. The one that a lot of people are asking, right, is like, hey, are we going to go to the big school, small school, Division I, Division II format? Is that going to happen? What is the ripple effect of that, right? Does that mean 7A isn't coming anytime soon? Does that mean 3A is done as well? 3A is not in sight anytime soon. So many questions, right? So many questions. And there's so many parallels between 7A and 3A too, as far as the question is like, maybe there aren't enough schools for either one of those divisions yet. So who knows? We don't know that for sure, but you can speculate all day, and there's kind of all kinds of different scenarios, but we will have a better idea in a couple of months, very soon. So, all right. And my final thoughts, so many thank yous. It's impossible to try to remember everybody, but our podcast team, right, from you, obviously, Rafa, thank you for being here. You're right. We do put the show is typically 9 times out of 10 the easiest part, right? The podcast itself is the easiest part. It's the work that goes in behind it, and also do we occasionally have technical difficulties just like tonight? Yeah, and just with our overlay, some of the stuff that you saw on the screen not cooperating, so apologies on that front. But sometimes when you go with a live show, right, those are some of the things that happen, right? And we own up to it, we own them, and we fix them, bottom line. And but that's also one of the things that we pride ourselves is that it's going to be real, it's going to be raw, kind of uncut. So we're grateful for that. We're grateful to our supporters, our listeners, in a year where really our supporters really were growing on so many levels, particularly for this show, Inside Texas High School Soccer, which was a spin-off series of what started as the 50/50 podcast almost 3.5 years ago. And the podcast team, from you, Rafa, everything we do, we talk about, Frank, all the work he's done, our good friend Frank Court, in terms of the newsletter. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, coaches, student athletes, parents, the newsletter is for everybody, and it's completely free. As we often say, it shouldn't be free because of the amount of just the information that's on there, but it's free. And grateful for him to that as our recruiting insider. He brings just a wealth of experience on that front. And then also the work that he's going to be doing for us with our, hopefully will be our website launching later sometime this summer. We just don't know when yet. So we're looking forward to that. Steve and Harry, who does so much work behind the scenes, particularly leading up to bracketology. Bracketology has just kind of become a monster onto itself, right, within itself, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And
I think we've had about over close to 8,000 views for all.
For this year.
For this year, I think we're close to 8,000 views. Yeah. So thank you for all the support for everyone out there.
Yeah, and it's been great. And from Steve putting in the work, watching and covering a lot of matches live. I know you covering a lot of matches live. Mine was a little different this year because I had my own games to contend with. So being able to, and just having our network, right, our network of contributors, Leland Hammonds here in the San Antonio area, Michael Merritt up in the Houston area, the Katy area. Got to thank some of these individuals, some of these gentlemen, in addition to, Ken, we talk about Ken Murphy, right? Known for his photography, but just some of the insight that he's given us and as a contributor as well up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, just to name a few. And then, of course, we talked about Jesse Tovar out in El Paso and covering just the scene out in the 915. All of these people, just to name a few. We talked about having Stephanie Sazo, Coach Sazo of El Paso del Valle, who gave us, who gave us great insight right during the live matches at Tasco for the state tournament. Yeah, in Georgetown. But what I meant to say is she was there as the Tasco Region 1 assistant director. So thankful to all these people, thankful to so many, but our supporters, our listeners, the student athletes, the reason why we're all here, all right, supporting our coaches. Our coaches, the best part is seeing so many coaches who are taking great pride in being Texas high school soccer coaches. Had a great conversation today with a coach who's up for a job for his first head coaching job. And we spoke today, and just hearing the excitement in his voice, and it's all attributed to, to the podcast and doing this and sharing our passion, our love, and just being able to tell these stories. And I'm very happy for him, excited for him, rooting for him. And these are just the kind of stories that we love to hear. And and of course, last member of the team, Coach, I was just talking about it a little while ago with Coach Kruger, but my spouse, my wife, who's just phenomenal. She's awesome. She gets this. She understands this. And as Rafa mentioned, we're not chasing the likes. We're not chasing the retweets or the reposts, whatever we want to call it. Not trying to chase money everywhere, anything like that. I hope that it's clear, that it's evident why we're doing this. And as I've often said, just having the best seat in the house and being able to talk with so many great coaches, so many great student athletes, and particularly our coaches who just, the stories behind the scenes, who share so much, and they're inspiring, is what they come down to. And they tell the stories of their student athletes, and they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Grateful to all of you, to our parents, to our listeners, our supporters everywhere, being listened to in 53 countries. Still, like I always say, no idea how that happened, but grateful nevertheless. But that's going to do it. We wrap up season 4 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, our final episode 14. Thank you to all of you that have been with us. Really grateful for you. Again, you can find us on Twitter X, Twix, whichever, at 50_50 pod. On Instagram at 50_50 podcast. On YouTube as well. You can look us up. Just search the 50_50 podcast. Ken, thank you again, buddy. Appreciate it. Go on there, YouTube, sign up, subscribe, sign up for notifications. You'll get notified whenever we're live, whether it's Inside Texas High School Inside Texas High School Soccer or the 50/50 podcast. Going to take a few weeks off as we wrap up the school year, but excited to be bringing you college coaches very soon, and some special episodes as well that are in the works. Trying to work on some summer leagues as well, covering some summer leagues this summer. So if you know of a few or something that we want to get some notoriety to and tell some of the stories on that in terms of summer league development, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you know of something that is doing great things in the state that could make a great story, again, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always willing to listen, and we're grateful for our listeners. So that's going to do it. So for Rafa, one last time, man. Anything else? Final words? Nothing? Good?
Well, so I guess news today is talking about, going to next. Congratulations to Coach Clifton Tinnery on being named the new head coach at Brandeis.
Brandeis, yeah. Brandeis.
Congratulations to him. And that's something we're also going to say. What kind of coaching changes we're going to have this coming year? That's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah. So there's a ton coming. There's a ton coming for sure. So awesome. That's going to do it again. So for Rafa, I'm Hector Cano, Coach Cano. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you again. And you know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on X at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.